It's Simon Marks, LBC's Washington correspondent. Simon, what's going on?
Well, I was actually going to ask you, Dom, if you had ever visited it, because I have to say I have never successfully gone to San Francisco and managed to visit Alcatraz, because every time I go there, I leave it too late to book tickets, because it is, as you know, a very popular museum and historic landmark. This island off the shore of California in the bay there, where up to 336 prisoners were incarcerated at a time until 1963, when President John F. Kennedy ordered it to be closed because so much money had to be spent on refurbishing it and maintaining it that his government concluded it wasn't worth the candle, and also argued, I think, that the treatment of prisoners, sending them to an island from which they could see the lights of San Francisco at the other side of the shore, was also not exactly the most humane approach to prison populations that the government could have taken. So it's now, if this was in the UK, it would be considered a listed building. It's now on the National Registry of Historic Landmarks, and that is going to pose a massive problem for President Trump, as he has suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, advanced the argument that it needs to reopen to house the most violent offenders. He seems to be linking it in his mind to his program of migrant deportations, because, as you know, he's been saying falsely for the last several weeks that if the Democrats had their way, there would be up to 2 million, 3 million trials of the immigrants that he's planning to deport. And he seems to think that a refurbished, extended Alcatraz might serve as a repository for all of those people awaiting what he calls trial. Of course, they're not supposed to be put on trial. They are supposed to be given a relatively simple and short court hearing before they're deported, but he's denying them that. So he's told the Bureau of Prisons, the Attorney General Pam Bondi, and for reasons that no one can understand, the FBI, to begin the process of reopening Alcatraz. Honestly, this is never, ever going to happen. And I think what's really taking place here is time-honoured distraction by the President of the United States, because he will have known all weekend long that today, in its print editions, the New York Times was going to lead with an investigative splash about the amount of money he and his two sons are currently coining as they trade off the president's name and off the presidency itself. And I suspect that all of the distraction that we've seen over the last 24 hours, the Alcatraz idea, the placing tariffs on foreign films, all of these efforts to divert public attention are exactly designed to divert public attention, and in many ways they've worked here.
It's interesting that, because I kind of felt that it must be some sort of distraction thing. But on the other hand, Donald Trump pretty much puts out something strange or exciting every day. I wonder if you are working for, you know, the general administration or whatever, what do you do when an order like open Alcatraz happens? Do you sort of immediately get to it? Do you sort of think, shall we just pretend he never said it and hope he forgets? Or do you think there's some sort of buffer zone where they all wait for 3 days, and if it's still being demanded, they do it?
I think it's a bit of all three. I mean, if you look at the case of the announcement of tariffs on foreign films, his Commerce Secretary Howard, I mean, what is that all about? What does that even look like in 2025? Although I know that in the UK, you know, the industry is very concerned about the possibility of him following through on this. And certainly the government's going to want to talk to their American opposite numbers as they continue trying to get a trade deal out of him. But in the immediate aftermath of him saying tariffs on foreign films, his Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick immediately went on social media and sent a note to Donald Trump saying, "We're right on it." And I'm sure that that is exactly the response that he's had today from the Bureau of Prisons and from the Department of Justice. Certainly, it's had very negative pushback from elected Democrats who, of course, run California. Governor Gavin Newsom, the member of Congress and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, and others absolutely dismissing it out of hand. Gavin Newsom saying that it was distraction politics that the president was engaging in. But look, if you watched his cabinet meeting, which wasn't, of course, really a cabinet meeting, but a made-for-TV reality show last Wednesday, we witnessed the most North Korean proceeding that this city has ever seen, as all of his cabinet secretaries dutifully heaped praise upon him, assured him that they were advancing his agenda, even those who aren't really doing it, and said that he was the greatest president in the history of the United States. And so when he says, I want to reopen Alcatraz, they are absolutely going to have to go through the motions of at least pretending to see whether that might vaguely be possible.
I've been to North Korea, and I have to tell you, I think if that happened in Pyongyang, even Kim Jong-un would have looked a little bit embarrassed and said, enough already. It's weird. Let's hear about what he's trying to distract us from then, because I didn't know about that story coming out today. How is it, I mean, what's the exact thing that they're coining the money from? Is that this isn't his
they
Doge?
are arguing.
Sorry, it's not his coin.
No.
It?
Well, it's some of it's crypto. Some of it's crypto. Some of it is crypto, but a lot of it is real estate deals. So the New York Times is saying that Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, his two eldest sons, are pursuing a blitz of family money-making ventures, capitalizing on their father's power and money. A rush to cash in that involves billions of dollars with few precedents in modern history. They cite examples that include the development of a luxury hotel in Dubai, a second high-end residential tower in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. And remember that Donald Trump is going... He's traveling to Saudi Arabia next week as President of the United States, even as his sons are trying to engineer this business arrangement with the Saudis. He's also pursuing two new cryptocurrency ventures in the US, a golf course and a villa complex in Qatar. He'll also be visiting Doha next week, and a new private club in Georgetown here in Washington, D.C., very stylish part of Washington, D.C., where he's designed this club as a place where the Make America Great Again faithful can hang out and relax, rather like they were able to do in what was the Trump Hotel back in his first administration. He no longer owns that property here in Washington, D.C. Founding memberships for this club, it's going to be called the Clubhouse, were priced at $500,000, $500,000, and it's too late, Dom, for you to get one because they're all sold out.
I was just saying, so it's a sort of MAGA Soho House type deal here. I presume
exactly that.
I presume you got membership immediately, Simon.
Yeah, I'm hoping they're comping me.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about why Trump was not landing in Israel on his Middle Eastern trip, and he was ignoring that and going straight off. I think we might have a slight thought as to why that might be now, because he's obviously following various deals of his own. What's interesting about the Alcatraz thing, just to go back, how does that stand when if there is any logic to it, you've got this Doge thing that Elon Musk's doing, and we're supposed to be saving public money, and yet here he is basically demanding that they redo Alcatraz, which hasn't been done for 60 years. I mean, how do they justify this, or do they not bother?
Well, they don't. I mean, there's no effort, justification. I mean, the very Department of Justice that he has ordered now to start looking into how you reopen and rebuild Alcatraz is the Department of Justice that is having billions of dollars wiped off its budget as a result of the activities of Elon Musk and Doge. The National Park Service, which currently administers Alcatraz, as you will know from having visited there, it is part of the National Park Service, and there will be Park Service staff there guiding people around the place. That's suffering absolutely massive budget cuts, I think 40%, and substantial staffing losses. They might actually, I mean, bizarrely, welcome the notion that there would be a property that they no longer had to look after because they're facing so many very, very difficult choices. But look, this is just not going to happen. The hurdles to make it happen, the legal challenges to this, will tie him up in knots for the rest of his second term in the White House, and probably a third term if he decides to go for one.